and they saw that there was no snow or no ice or anything, and that it was down to the surface. And then they landed the plane in the waters to test and see, and they found that the waters were somewhat temperate, and this was going on for hundreds of square miles. But they didn't test them all, obviously, but what they landed in was found to be temperate. And they specifically said that the shores were lined with fresh coal on the surface of the on the surface.
Right, one
and
sec,
so
guys.
thinking,
I'm going to head off. Thank you for having me. Sorry I couldn't stay for too long, but feel a little bit tired after
Get some
the
rest,
event.
oh, man.
So, Dutch, I need to get a way to get in touch with you because we definitely need to do a show together, talk about some stuff. I'd love to pick your brain and go over some proper history. And also, Eric, you sound like someone I want to talk to you as well. So if we could arrange something at some point, that'd be absolutely brilliant. And Gerald, you as well. So anyway, on that note, I will leave you guys. I hope you enjoy yourselves. Have a great stream. I'm sorry I couldn't stay longer, but had a busy day, and I just popped in to do a bit. But anyway, thanks. It's been great.
Oh, much love, brother.
He had corrective surgery earlier today and still came in.
Yikes.
Always a pleasure with Luke.
Surgery sucks. Anyway, the long story short is that they found this multi-hundred-mile wide melted area that they said was melted year-round. I don't know how they would know that, but they found it lined with coal, and I thought that was interesting because, okay, coal at the surface, and you've got a lot of water, coal and water, all you'd need is a boiler, and you've got yourself infinite steam power. Like, so
as a plumber, I was confused why they weren't doing steam heat down there compared to what they were doing with the glycol and heat exchangers and blah blah blah. I've heard all of this stuff about Bird before, and have you never heard of the dry valleys?
Oh, I've heard the snowless parts. Yeah, I've heard of like
there's an area called the dry valleys
them,
but that's so he's. I mean, people don't realize that he can be discussing very benign things, and because they're not from these people don't have Antarctic experience, they just don't like. I get that the story sounds fantastical. I get that it can be fantastical. I'm not against that possibility, but there are also very present facts that also explain exactly what he saw. The dry valleys existed then. The dry valleys exist right now. His explanation could have been him flying into the dry valleys. It could be that simple.
Is it large areas of water in the dry valleys?
There is large areas of no ice where there's never been ice, and that's why they're referred to as the dry valleys. They use them as a facsimile of the Mars landscape.
Yeah, they landed this plane in the water, though, so that kind of...
I'm sure in the barrier areas between the dry valleys and the areas that are completely covered with ice, there's probably intermediate situations going on. I don't doubt that in the
100%, Eric. What you're describing sounds like what you see in the videos of it. And so these are supposed mountain/pyramids taken in Antarctica. And you said you witnessed at least one of these while you were down there. I
have to my right. I have a massive panoramic photograph of a mountain range in Antarctica. It's from the program. My roommate was also in the program. She got this photograph from a coworker, like a gift, right? And this you sprawl this thing out and then printed on the picture is each of the names of the mountains in the range. And as you're going through, there's Mount this and Mountain that and blah, blah. And then all of a sudden in the middle of it all, over one of the peaks, it just says pyramid. And it's the only one that's shaped like perfectly pointed. And it doesn't say Mount Pyramid or Mountain Pyramid. It just says pyramid. So to me, it's photographic evidence from the program that I happened upon somehow. Holy moly.
I love that.
That's how life happens sometimes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I brought this thing out to, what do you call them? Conventions and things like that. I showed it to Brad.
Did you say it's on your wall right now?
It's It's rolled up in a tube right next to me.
Oh, darn it. I was like, come on,
It
let's
just,
take a look.
I've put it on the internet before. The problem is it's
I know.
like this 16-foot long panoramic, right? So it's not meant to be put on a webcam for people to look at because it just looks all blurry at that point. There's no resolution. And then everybody's like, oh, you can't see it. You're a liar. And it's like, what do you want me to do? It doesn't translate through the medium. I mean, I can go hold up a picture for you right now and say, hey, here's a big photo of a mountain range.
Right, it's that you've experienced the pyramids down there yourself, or the pyramidal mountains, and once you've experienced something for yourself, you know it as truth because you've lived through it.
I've flown over the Transantarctic Mountains, and that was gorgeous to see all the glaciers. Like it looks like oceans in motion. You're up so high, everything looks like waves, and you kind of have to pay attention to the fact that it's not moving. But you can get the feel for the flow with great ease, the way everything's moving through the mountain ranges. You can see it all. Yeah, see images like this that you put up, like I see that image and I start to wonder the labor involved. And, just straight up, there are calculations that can be made from man hours. I want to know how many man hours were put on that site.
Oh. Millions.
What's the calculation?
People, right? Like
how would you guys calculate it? I'm no expert on ancient construction. But how many men are needed for how many hours a day to do this from start to finish? What was there before this was there, before they moved all of this earth and structure? This is absurd.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the level of terraforming is insane because each one of these canals is literally a wall story down or up from each other, and that they've built these in perfect symmetry and level to be able to flow like that, keep the waters like that, and these massive walls up and up and up like that. It's insane to have to level it all, and that each one of these angles are at least 1, 2, maybe even up to like 3 or 4 stories of pure wall elevation between each level of these moats and their walls and what they're building, and that they have to have this inner same battery geometry, the battery unit that they've bastardized with the bastion fort that we find everywhere as the base of it. And then a lot of the time, the more advanced, then you're going to have an outer shell of with the water in between it insulating, and then between that, then these additional radial pieces. And it's like, these don't make sense for battle sake. Like, what the heck is this little square here, this little square, this little, like, from people attacking? Like, no, that's not logical in any sense. Like, and that with horse and cart and shovel, and how the heck would they even level it or get this above perspective to be able to understand this perspective of above, and then what they're going to have to level on the ground, and then actually start doing it all with animal and manual labor? Like, are you freaking kidding me? This is next to impossible.
And no instantaneous communication either. So, I mean, you're trying to get it down to a point on either side. I mean, just think about it, guys. This is the man hours. You're right. It'd be like 20 trillion man hours. And how many bulldozers nowadays do you think it would take? I mean, geez, this is insane. Horse and buggy.
And then I also think too about like practical reality on a job site, right? How did the folks back then convey the information from the architect's head to the tradesman's hands? We have blueprints and stuff nowadays in conversations, right? How did they practically do this back then? Did they have blueprints for all these facilities that we don't have? Like, what was the medium of communication? Since you're right, they don't have, a way to do it across the site, but let alone how do they even convey the idea? This is what we're going to build.
Yeah, like it would take a day's journey just for one person to take one of the prints to the worker on the other side of the city, because they'd have to like walk it or hike it or take a freaking horse. Like it's so impractical.
Well, that StarFort that you showed out in the Florida Keys earlier, how many bricks were built? Like, what? How many boats worth of bricks did they send out there? Are you kidding me?
Was it 16 million, I think?
Yeah. How do you get
160 million?
how do you get truckloads of bricks on and off a wooden
Yeah, and they
sail?
At the
built
height
that
of the
island.
Civil War. Where do you get the manpower at
Yeah.
the height of the Civil War to do that?
How many meetings would it take literally to build just one
Ah.
section of wall? It'd
Coordinating
be
that StarFort being built over there.
impossible.
Mhm.
Like it's just it's
Yeah, we've got a hidden
absolutely-
history. I mean, it's pretty obvious there's a hidden history. I'd say the one place where we don't have any clue on it is where there, it probably wouldn't be, would be down in Antarctica, where it's just 10,000 feet of ice, and anything down below is going to be scraped away anyway, so we wouldn't have evidence there. And it would be so old anyways that you wouldn't know. Like, it's just...
I can tell you this much: when they were drilling being a relative term, using hot water to remove the ice to get down to do stuff for the ice cube neutrino detector installation, they were hitting trees and palm trees and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I've heard of that too.
There was stuff in the ice for sure.
It was
Palm trees in the
tropical,
ice?
subtropical plant
Correct.
and animal like matter and fossilization they'd find underneath the ice and in the sludge.
They found all kinds of weird. They found a crate of
That's
old hot dogs
awesome.
from some old expedition, and they ate them and got sick.
Finding palm trees, though, that's
And
huge. I
then
mean,
apparently it's the exact in Alaska too.
about the woolly mammoths that were frozen. I don't know where that was, but there were those flash frozen.
Over by
woolly...
Fairbanks.
Is that what it was up north? So
yeah, over by Fairbanks, the guy had 5-acre property. He's got over 10,000 woolly mammoths on it.
Wow.
Yep.
The boneyard there, right? Like
Correct. Yep.
and that a lot of what they're finding is that the plants are like tropical-ish or like just subtropical, definitely a lot not just northern but actually tropical and what's in between it. I don't know, sorry,
Subtropical.
People don't realize right now the southern part of Alaska right now is a rainforest.
yeah, oh that's on the coast, right? Well, how far north is Alaska, right? Because you're in Alaska.
Freakishly north. Alaska's just massive.
But
The state of
compare,
Alaska
like,
is
latitude
1/3 the
and
size of the lower
position
48.
to where you were in, like, with what you experienced in the South Pole in a year at the South compared to where you are in Alaska in a year in the North.
I've been to the South Pole Station, which is 90 degrees south, but I've also been to places as far north in Alaska. I think I was up near like 72 degrees up in Barrow, Alaska, Wpgenlighten4truth2, which is the furthest northern point in Alaska. I did some work up there, so they do get 24 hours of darkness in the wintertime for a bit. I guess they get 24 hours of sun for a little while too in the summertime. I don't think I spent as much time up there in the summer though, but it gets cold in Barrow, but nowhere near like South Pole. I think the coldest that I saw in Barrow was maybe like -20 or -30 or something like that Fahrenheit.
Okay, so like pretty much the same temperature as I'm experiencing in southern Alberta, Calgary.
Probably.
Next
I would be surprised if it gets colder than -40 Fahrenheit in Barrow, which is the same as -40 Celsius. So you'd be familiar with that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then how warm does it get in the winter too when it's like pitch black there? Like I remember a couple, like last year, 2 years ago, it was like right around Christmas and super dark, and you were like in above freezing temperatures for a week or two or something, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, we get weird warm spells every now and then for sure. You talking about up here in Alaska? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I mean,
Yes, sir.
yeah, it gets cold in the wintertime, but it's not brutal up here actually, and it could warm up freakishly at any point in time. Like today we were supposed to be in the 40s, but it's going to wind up not happening. And we got snow everywhere right now.
Right. So Dutch, I'm bringing this up in regards to a little bit we've